Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Fontana, and with me, as always, it is Andy Asimakis. How are you, Andy?
It was a very productive day. I watched that Boss Logic reveal of the next Assassin's Creed game.
Weird. That was a real weird way to do that.
That was a marathon of a thing. It was 8 a.m. to like 4 p.m.
Yep, that's hard.
It was the most productive I've been this entire quarantine. Watching something for 8 hours.
That's you being productive. Got it.
Yeah, understood. It really is. Just so you know,
that explains
where the line is, where the bar is set.
That
is me watching a screen passively for 8 hours.
Did you at least have your Switch in your hand, or?
I didn't. I had several cups of coffee.
Interesting.
Chai latte.
Which didn't work because you apparently fell asleep in the afternoon anyway.
Right, I did. And I had an apple turnover whilst watching that.
Oh, man. You had it
was nice. That's one talented guy.
Joining us this week is Bennett Tyler, the creator of Depths of Sanity, an underwater metroidvania filled with menacing sea life and monstrous bosses. Bennett, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me. I'd be remiss if I didn't correct you slightly. I do need to give credit where it's due. There are a couple other guys who do work on the game. So yes, one of. But also, how cool was that Ubisoft thing, that Assassin's Creed thing? That was
that was really
crazy.
Neat.
So like, I saw that. I'll admit, I thought it was cooler in concept than in actual. I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw a screenshot. I was like, "Oh, that's super cool." I'll check when it's done. I guess
it felt like an ad for Photoshop while I was watching it.
Yeah, but like honestly, as a game artist, I should have probably sat down the entire time and taken notes. That probably would have been a good use of my time. But not what I did. Oops.
Yeah, I was watching it, and I see them. I was watching a part where they were putting on these little fabric on the belt of somebody, and it's the same piece of fabric on both sides, but he morphs it. I don't know. That stuff is way beyond me. But you know what is not beyond me? This show, the Dual Screens podcast. And if you're new here, let me tell you what this is all about. This is an interview show where we bring on an industry guest to tell us their story and to discuss their latest project. Everyone in the gaming industry, be it a programmer, an artist, a voice actor, a PR person, your sister's cousin's uncle's brother, it doesn't matter. They all have a story to tell, and this is their platform to do so. And this show posts each and every Thursday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including our home, Podbean. And of course, you can find everything on youtube.com/dualscreenstv as well. And that's going to just bring us, we're just going to go right into this thing. We're just going to just lower our heads and plow right through this thing. Bennett, we met you at PAX East earlier this year, right before the world went to shit.
Yep.
And I mean, honestly, if I'm speaking honest with you, we probably shouldn't have gone. It shouldn't have been at a convention at the end of February. But whatever. I didn't get sick. Andy didn't get sick, so we're okay. But yeah, I mean, it was great.
You checked news reports for 2 weeks, though, right? I know I did. I was
yes.
Am I gonna get sick?
Every tickle
was COVID-19. It takes a while, right?
Yeah.
I was almost relieved to get a little bit of 2 days later. I had lost my voice, and I was relieved because it was this hit me way too fast. This is just regular run-of-the-mill PAX plague.
Yep.
It's not anything more serious than that. But you have to wait for the second shoe to drop.
I'm dying for different reasons.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
That's spot on. That's exactly what it was like in this house. Because not only that, but the week that I got back, my wife went out of town to Colorado, and the town that she visited in Colorado, because they went to a little mountain town, they completely shut down because they had a minor explosion of cases right when she got back to New York. So I was like, oh man. So then we watched for two weeks after that. We were, quarantined for 2 weeks after that. And it was just okay, yes, I coughed every now and again, but and I had a minor, I had a 99.5 fever, sometimes 100, but it would last maybe an hour and a half. I wasn't even taking Tylenol or anything like that. It was just going away on its own. I'm maybe it's probably just fatigue and stress. I'm just really stressed out about everything, but whatever. I mean, but my sister-in-law, who my sister went and visited, she had fever for 29 straight days.
Jeez.
And she just had, I think 2 days ago was her first day without a fever since my wife visited her and like came back to New York. So it's been a crazy thing. So, but that's not what we're here to. I mean, if we talk about it eventually, whatever, it is what it is. But
it's the elephant in the room, right? Or
exactly.
In the virtual room. Like, what do we do? How does that phrase even work now? It's the elephant on the call.
It's an elephant in the Google Hangout.
Yeah, something like that.
So, how's everybody doing? What have we been playing any games lately? Just breaking the ice here before we get into before we dive into the depths of sanity.
Yes.
Have you been playing anything while you're kind of locked in your house?
Yeah, a couple of things. I fully admit taking advantage of that whole cross-play of that Call of Duty Warzone Battle Royale. It's cool because, I mean, I've never really been a Call of Duty fan, but the whole... I got friends who play on PlayStation, friends who play on Xbox, who I don't really ever play with because I only play online on PC. So it's cool to play with them, especially now because everybody's getting a lot more digital. Everybody's like people who didn't really do online gaming before are getting a little more into it, which is kind of a cool silver lining if you're going to find one. So I've been playing a little bit of that. And actually, as a whole team, all of us who are making Depths of Sanity, we all actually started playing Terraria again because they announced that they're coming out with like the last patch before they stop doing any more work on the game, and they're adding like golf to it, which has no business being in that game, which is exactly why we need to make sure that we're ready to convert whatever world we have into a golf course when the patch comes out.
Absolutely.
So I've been playing a little bit of that as well.
What do you So I mean, there's been some crazy news too. Like we can't seem to get away from certain things with the delays coming out of the shipment of games, and like The Last of Us had the delay, and now The Last of Us 2 had the major leak, and now we have a date for The Last of Us 2. Like, have you guys been following any of that crazy news? Has it affected you in any negative ways as far as Depths of Sanity?
Yeah, short answer to that is yes. I would be lying if I said I ever wanted a game that I was making to come out at the same time as Last of Us 2 or anywhere near Last of Us 2 within the couple. It's just that's going to take everybody's attention for quite some time. It's a huge bummer. All that spoiler stuff that came out. I was really lucky. I didn't catch any of it. So I'm kind of I'm still spoiler free on Last of Us 2, which is good. I don't think I know anybody who saw anything that they can't unsee that's gonna quote unquote spoil the game.
I'm not me, and I saw one thing.
Oh,
today, shoot! Actually, during that fucking Boss Logic live stream.
Oh no!
it was in the live chat. I was like, wait, that. Oh
man! See, those are the dangers.
I forgot about that.
Right, because I'm pretty good at avoiding things on like Twitter, and like general social media. I'm never gonna click a YouTube video that like I think might contain spoilers, so I'm pretty good there. But yeah, when you're in like a Twitch stream or something like that, you never know what's just gonna fly up the side, and you're like, "Oh, what was that?" And now you're curious. So that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things like Avengers was spoiled in comments of it was spoiled in thumbnails of videos. Like I don't know it. I muted all the terms on our shared Twitter, Andy. So hopefully you don't see that. But like I don't know, man. It's gonna be a while. We have a little bit.
The thing I read sounded semi-fake, but I was like, I could see that happening, but I will try to forget about it, even though I won't in any way until the game comes out.
Well, just don't Google The Last of Us 2, whatever you do.
Yeah,
but
that's probably... Yeah.
Speaking of Google, Andy, it's a return of one of our favorite segments on the show. And it is, who does Google think you are?
Oh, yeah, geez. So Bennett, your name is generic enough where if I put it into Google, I'll get some results out of it. Like you put my name in there.
Yeah,
one or two of me out there would imagine.
That's true.
I first put in, because I forgot your last name, I put in Bennett Taylor. So,
oh yeah,
for a second, I thought you were an actor/rapper that was born in Montreal, known for hits known as Broad Shoulders and Grown Up Fairy Tales.
Close.
Not you, definitely.
It was close, though.
But there is an actual Bennett Tyler who was an American congressional clergyman and educator, and he served as the president of Dartmouth College between 1822 and 1828.
Wow.
So what was that like?
So if I recall correctly, too, because he had some very questionable stances on quite a few things, if I remember correctly.
Clergymen do. Yep.
Yeah, because there used to be this game where you would Google, like, instead of just Googling your name, you'd be like, what does Bennett need? Or like Bennett Tyler needs to. And and it was like Bennett Tyler needs to seriously reconsider his position on race. And I was like, hold up. What? And I vaguely remember like it being some article about some clergyman, so it might be the same dude. Yeah, it's always a risky move Googling yourself. You'd probably find also some slightly boring stuff of like my LinkedIn page. I guess that's like, does this game get harder as social media becomes more prevalent? Because eventually you're just going to find people's social media. That's a bummer.
Well, listen, you also stabilized enrollment, which took a hit during the Revolutionary War, so you got that going for you.
That is good.
So
that
good
is
on
good.
You.
Excellent.
Very good stuff. Thank you for doing that. That's very important.
Just doing my duty for where was I president again? Dartmouth?
Dartmouth, yes.
Dartmouth College.
Yes. All right. There we go. Doing my duty for Dartmouth College.
Or whatever. All right. So let's get into Depths of Sanity. Let's talk a little bit about it. So it's a very, very cool metroidvania. Now, the twist is it's got this like underwater physics. It plays a lot with light, which I really liked. And it's very, very plotting and creepy and a little bit unsettling when you're just this little tiny little sub kind of floating around and these giant monsters. So why don't you tell our listeners, what is Depths of Sanity?
It's a project we've been working on for we're coming up on 3.5 to 4 years now. It's been a while. And we're really excited with the way it's turning out. As you said, the shortest way to describe it is an underwater metroidvania. There is definitely there are a lot of people out there who Metroidvania is such a weird term. You can toss it around as much as you like sometimes. Some people are like, well, if you really break it down, Legend of Zelda is a Metroidvania. It's like, no, it's not. It's a Zelda. But then you're doing all this weird nitpicking on genre. The point is, it's going to have a pretty classic Metroidvania flavor to it. But like any modern Metroidvania, we like to think that we're giving it a big enough twist that it's not going to be like your Samus, except she's shaped like a submarine. Is not what we're trying to do. Which is honestly though, like I bring it up because it's honestly where the idea started from. But while we've been working on it, we went from just trying to like, if we put Metroid in 3D space, what would that be, to like, okay, let's lean into this concept of underwater. Let's give the submarine. So that's why you've got like, what makes the ocean scary is darkness, is not knowing what's there. But it's also like, I don't know. It's kind of like when you dream and you try to run from something and you can't really run very fast because you're dreaming for some reason. It doesn't work like that. It kind of feels the same as if you're ever underwater and you're trying to run. If you're not like an accomplished swimmer, moving in the water is kind of tough. So like we tried not to make it hard, but we also tried to make incorporate that into the gameplay a little bit. So we think that whole idea informed the physics behind a lot of how some of the mechanics work. So it turned into a little bit more of a there are some physics, not necessarily puzzles, but physics in the combat, which came out of developing this 360 underwater Metroidvania. That's kind of like from a very gameplay level what it is, but what it really is it's a story about a man going insane as he goes deeper and deeper into the depths of the ocean. You're going to go through 6 different levels of this ocean, deeper and deeper, starting from like the first level. We haven't really had the opportunity to show off the game itself yet. We've been, you guys saw at PAX a small demo, and if anybody who's listening has either seen a trailer or played the game anywhere, they've seen this same little tech space that we've been working on for a very long time, trying to perfect everything before we just roll out the full game. It's been really exciting over the past couple of months, and before PAX as well, putting together the story. You're right, it is plotting. We do have a lot of sort of mysteries for you uncover. You're exploring this ocean, not only exploring your own sanity, but you're searching for a missing crew. It's got a lot going on in that sense. It's honestly, with the amount of time that we've been working on it and how large it is now, like all the different iterations it's gone through, it's sort of really a hard thing for me to kind of wrap up neatly, as you can see as I meander all over the place trying to remember where I am, sort of like in a metroidvania when you get stuck and you can't remember where was that room where this thing probably works, which is something that we are making sure we're avoiding when we're making ours.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Or at least trying to.
One of the things about being underwater, I mean, one of the things that makes it instantly a fun mechanic is that as human beings, it's not something we can freely do comfortably. So even if we are great swimmers, you have to be a super trained diver, and even then you can't really go that far, right? Like you can only go, right, what is it, 100 meters, whatever the hell it is. But like, it's still a very scary thing to do because you don't know how your body reacts. You don't know how a simple, how momentum really works when you're underwater and stuff like that. It reminded me a little bit of controlling for the first time as a kid, kind of controlling like the ship in Asteroids, where you're kind of like, like you turn around and use your boosters to kind of slow yourself and like, you kind of play with that space a little bit like that. It was interesting that it felt very familiar in that way, but also very unfamiliar in the fact that it was, a deep, dark ocean that was kind of scary.
Asteroids is actually the best comp, which is unfortunate because Metroid does not combine with the word asteroid because they're basically already combined.
That's unfortunate, yeah.
And I also imagine there are way too many people, like, we're probably as young as Asteroid players get.
Mastroid. Got it. It's a Mastroidvania.
Mastroidvania.
I did it. I figured it out. Andy, you wanted to say something. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, like, I think when you say the term Metroidvania in this instance, it's more to give you a sense of the game's format, the map system, the exploration.
Right.
But when you get your hands on it, the controls are just so different from what you think a Metroidvania game would play like.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually, it's one of the hardest things about making like trailers for the game, talking about the game, showing the game, and not having people play the game, is the fact that like it looks kind of weird. It doesn't, like you say, play like you expect it to, but it's one of those things that it's actually surprisingly intuitive, or at least, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We like to think it's surprisingly intuitive, all things considered, that it is a little bit unsettling the first time you take a look at it. So for us, it's been a challenge to try to get the game into people's hands, because we think that's the best way to really see what's going on, is to play it and be like, oh no, this is weird. This is different. I like this. Instead of like, oh, this is weird. This is different. I don't know if I like this, which might be how you would approach it if you just see it instead of play it. But I mean, we were planning on going to a lot of conventions, which is kind of the rub here. They're doing like digital ones these days, but they really just don't have the sort of like staying power or the interest that actually going out to an event, really has, which is a bummer. But we I think and don't actually. I was about to say, don't quote me on this, but we're currently recording this.
This is an on the record situation.
This is me being quoted. We're actually working on putting possibly putting our demo out on Steam soon. So at the very least, people can give it a shot if they haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. Idea. And this is going back to the question earlier about like news and how those things have affected that whole launch plan of ours, making sure people can play it, testing it, that has become immensely harder to plan out and figure out what's going on. So we're looking at slipping goals as well, just because it's hard to know what. It's like, yeah, we could say the game's coming out in June, but does anybody know what June's going to be like yet? Like we exactly, we've got to guess. But so it's tough to say, which is a bummer. But like if regardless, the PSA being here, in the meantime, we're trying to get the demo out on as many digital platforms as we can, so people can actually give it a try and really see what make the controls both different, but also something that works, isn't different like broken different.
Well, so you obviously had some nice momentum after PAX East, or at least you had something going. Can you tell us what your PAX East was like? What kind of feedback were you getting? What was it like for you guys?
Yeah, it was awesome because we've done PAX East a couple of times. We're local to this area, the Northeast. I live in Massachusetts myself, and everybody else is sprinkled around. So we've been doing PAX for a couple of years. We've brought Depths of Sanity 3 years in a row now, and each year it gets progressively immensely better. And it's really cool because not only did we get a lot of great feedback this year from the people who were playing, but we also have like old feedback to compare it to know like if we are actually improving, which was awesome. So this year was great because we somehow lucked into a pretty upfront spot. We signed up pretty late, and I think it was just one of the last squares that were open. They slapped us down. We were pretty close to some pretty big players up front, and we got a good amount of traffic because of it, which was excellent for us. We talked to tons of people, and it's funny, as an indie dev, you talk to there are two types of people, I think. I mean, it's a gross oversimplification, but there are you'll run into
fall into two buckets.
Yeah, exactly. The people who are excited to play your game or want to know about your game because they're players, and then the other sort of devs who either sometimes are interested in what you've been doing, what's going on, and other times they really, really think the game you're making should be this game that they have an idea about. So the good thing is, the further in development you get, the more players and just people generally interested in your approach you get. So we do still get plenty of good feedback in terms of gameplay and what makes the game tick. But the momentum controls and a lot of those elements that are in the game right now are actually from player feedback that we've gotten in countless conventions we've done, real small ones to larger ones, in a couple of different places throughout. So we listen really closely when we do get that feedback from players, which is why we love doing those conventions. And we kind of take it as a measure when the feedback stops being oh, this kind of feels weird, or I don't really like this, or this didn't work, or people just, get up and walk away. That's the loudest feedback, even though it's the quietest.
That's happened? Folks walk away from you?
Oh no, like you just kind of like stand up and walk away from the controller. Thankfully, no, not in like full active conversation, unless of course you've got them like the people walking by your booth. Absolutely, walk away. Like, hey, do you want to play a game? No, I mean you came to PAX. I thought you liked video games, but okay, bye. Yeah.
Well, then there's no pleasing you.
Yeah, those people. Yeah, they walk away. But no, I just mean like it's. Video games are such a wide platform with so many different types of games that, I mean, even across we've got like 5 guys who work on this game, and all 5 of us play different games because we all have different tastes. So it's great when people who don't have a taste for your game, play it through to the end and have feedback on it. That's incredible because sometimes you get an insight into players who you weren't really even considering when you were setting out to make a Metroidvania. So it can be really valuable. But a lot of the feedback we're getting these days is just looking up at our banner asking summer 2020. Like, yeah, we're hoping. Like, is it coming out on Switch? We're like, yep, that's for sure happening. So like when the feedback turns from, hey, you guys should change this to when's it coming out? It feels really good. So that was generally the vibes we were getting from PAX, which was super exciting. And I rode that for quite a little bit. I was very, very productive for a couple of weeks right out of PAX because it was like, yeah, man, let's just keep going. This is awesome. This is great. People love it. But it's been how long? It's been like 3 years since PAX East 2020, right?
Yeah,
or something like that.
It seems like
maybe longer. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a meme joke at this point, but like for real, it's been 2 months, and it's like it feels like a whole nother time sometimes. But.
And I was going to say, I feel like a game like this really needs to have like a convention setting to really get a sense of what it is. Because when I first saw it, I was like, okay, I like the graphics and the look of it. But when I played it, I was just hooked in to the controls of the entire game because it was just so different and intuitive when I've played before.
Yeah, it's fun too because we've tried to build a couple of different versions that really let people kind of use the tools that will be at your disposal like halfway through the game or in the end game, not necessarily, Metroidvania, you're going to start with nothing. That's how those games work. We actually have run into a bit of a problem where we've gotten so used to one of the later unlocks in the game through the demos and all of the iterations. And we also know that everybody who's played the game, tried the game, knows that this is a tool that they'll have, and they've probably grown accustomed to it. And we had to move it up in the unlock sequence because, and we're actually having conversations of it being like really, really early on because we didn't realize how not unplayable, but how much those small elements actually added to the fun factor. And we want the game to be fun halfway through, but we also want the game to be fun all the way through. Right, we don't want you to have to play throughout the game before it's fun because people don't do that. That's I don't do that.
It's your morph ball in essence.
Sort of. Yeah, but the problem is we already had a morph ball.
Sure.
So
yeah.
As the diver suit. So now we have to figure out like, okay, where do we put this one? And or where, the discussion is like, maybe that's just, you just start with it. And that's like, it's just a mobility thing. And that's why it's there, because at the end of the day, that's really what, makes the ship controls are what works. So if we're pulling away from that as part of the gameplay, it's not really gonna work. So we still have a little bit of workshopping to do here and there. Stuff's always moving around, which is good. It's we're gamers at heart. That's where we came from. We're just a bunch of, we went to high school together. And after like a couple years after we graduated high school, we were like, we should make video games. Why not? And it just became like a way to sort of force us to stay in touch, which was cool for a little while, but now it's, a lot different. We're making what feels like a much realer game. If you had told us 10 years ago that the game we would be making eventually, a couple games later, would be coming out on Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation, I wouldn't have believed you, just straight up. I called you a liar to your face. I'm not really a violent person, so I wouldn't slap you or anything, but, I'd be like, you're just being mean right now. But no, it's super exciting to be in that position and to be putting this together. But because of that, yeah, we're kind of making up a lot of this stuff as we go. We're figuring things out, and we're getting a lot of help from the people who are playing it and letting us know what's going on. So, we're really missing the convention circuit. We're looking forward to when it starts opening up again for sure.
We have a. Do you want to get into Mikey Kirsch's questions now, Andy? Because they did come in through our channel.
Oh, sure. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions here. This comes from Mikey Kirsch from our Discord mailbag, which of course you can join by going to patreon.com/NDS podcast, just like our Patreon producer Colton, the Apprentice Nestler. For as little as $1, you get access to our VIP Discord, where you can ask us questions for our guests. You can hang out with us. You can even hang out with our guests, who all get invited to our Discord to hang out with us. We have early access audio. We have pre and post show audio, and of course you get a bonus episode. You get the bonus episode, you get the VIP Discord, all for just $1. So, and you get to vote on the topic of the show. But Mikey Kirsch asks, he's got a couple of questions here, but I want to start with the second cluster, which is, how did the story influence the game design, or was it vice versa? Did you want to make a Metroidvania first and then the story came along, or did you have a great idea and felt that it was conducive to the gameplay style?
That is a very good question. And probably the shortest answer is Metroidvania. It was a Metroidvania first. We really wanted to make a Metroidvania, and that was kind of what we set out to do. And early on, and this is I'm talking 3.5 years ago now, when we just started kind of like prototyping. In fact, when we first put the idea together, we were thinking about doing it in space. Actually, we really had the idea of want to make a Metroidvania, want to have 360 degrees of motion. It was a really gameplay driven decision when we started. The story sort of came out of a little more of the setting, more than anything else. I wouldn't say that the story itself is necessarily embedded with the Metroidvania gameplay as well as it could be, admittedly, which is a bummer. I'm a sucker for when games can like seamlessly blend that stuff together. I don't know if either of you guys have played the game Spec Ops: The Line.
Oh, that's a great game. Yeah.
Yeah. And just the way that just kind of unravels, isn't it unraveling and you are participating, you're like actively unraveling it. And it's just, they do such a great job with it. And like, I aspire to be able to marry gameplay and story that way. But unfortunately, not the approach we took with this. So while we definitely, I wouldn't consider the story secondary by any means. It's definitely the driving force behind what you're going to be doing throughout. And it does really, we like to think with the way that the gameplay will unfold and the way that the story will unfold will match with the setting well, and will match with the themes of the gameplay, but not necessarily the sort of like core of a Metroidvania. We're making,
this is locked behind a fence, but that's not really, in the story, it doesn't necessarily, jive completely well, but I mean, it's got to be locked behind this fence because it's a Metroidvania. Do you mean something like that, or?
Not quite. I'm trying to. So I'm a bit of a stickler for stuff myself. I'm the kind of guy. I went to school for TV and film, and I'm the kind of person who like sits there and like, that's not how the real world works. When I watch a movie, sometimes I like, and I know like the people who sometimes you just can't help it. Like you just notice that stuff and it bugs you. And I get that. So we're trying to make things make as much sense, but there is a really big problem of like, I don't know if you guys have seen what's at the bottom of the ocean, but it's literally nothing. Like there's just nothing down there.
That we know of anyway.
I've been Googling it for 4 years so that I could draw what's supposed to be down there. And it's just
pitch black pictures across the screen.
It's just pitch black darkness. That's all that's down there. But like, what I'm getting at is, we're trying to make things make sense as much as possible until they stop making sense because you're crazy. So like the gameplay and the visuals, they will inform the story, and they'll be. We try to bring them together as much as possible. When you're opening gates, they're gonna hopefully be gates of ancient ships that have old chains moving things out of the way and things like that. Maybe you're blowing rock formations with old depth charges, not just like, hey, press that button, flip that switch and open that gate isn't what we're trying to do. But I will fully admit that you taking a submarine and getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the ocean and still finding upgrades and weapons that are compatible with your submarine that make it better. That's the part of the game that I will fully admit that is a gaping plot hole that doesn't make and from that sense of the word, I guess I mean that they're not perfectly merged.
Unless if you want to get crazy, which we do because it's Depths of Sanity, you put it there from the future. Boom.
So I will tell you.
I hate that, and you should shut up.
Time travel is just a risky thing to bring into. I'm not ready to write with time travel. I'll also have to fire it up the chain because I'm sort of speculating and spitballing here, saying that it's not going to work. So Nick is a friend of mine who recently joined us and is doing the writing for the game now and is actually a pretty big stickler when it comes to this stuff as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if every single thing that you encounter, as weird as it would be to find at the bottom of the ocean, some sort of weapon that not only fits in your ship but also shoots electricity. We might figure out a reason. We can explain that somehow. Sci-fi, or you're crazy. It'll be option A or option B. We will figure it out.
See, I just like how we don't have to even go that far because most gamers just accept those things about game design. Like,
it's true.
Here's this missile pack upgrade. It just has to be part of the game. Just make me shoot more missiles. That's why it's there.
Isolated alien planet have bombs for me to equip into my very unique, one-of-a-kind bounty hunter suit.
It's true. but like that's sort of it's part of the challenge, right? Of making the next step, the next game in the like Metroidvania is an evolving format. It's always been evolving. So like, yeah, sure. We have missiles in our games. They're just torpedoes. And like you just pick up a bunch of torpedoes and you've got missiles. So like we're totally guilty of the tropes too. But like I think it's important to like little column A, little column B. Yeah. You've got the tropes, you justify the tropes you can, but sometimes it's I think The Messenger does it well. I don't know if you guys played that one. They're just
time travel.
They did, and they did, and it got wacky. I love the way they unveiled that, though. But they do that goofy thing all the time, where they're just pointing out the fact that it's a video game. Like it's like, yeah, this video game thing. You know this because it's a video game. Which like it's about. I guess there are a couple of different ways to do it. We'll do our best to explain it away in the lore of the game, I think.
So
I am not sure if I answered the question.
You did.
Mike has another question. This one's a little bit more cut and dry. He just wants to know, how long is the game? Is the purpose for people to play it through at once, or have you considered options to increase the replay value?
So the game is going to be, I think, so like we're anticipating, I think, about a 20-hour game, like completionist, probably like an 8 to 10 hour game if you like kind of sprint through it. It's going to have a fairly traditional Metroidvania, or just kind of like traditional Metroid specifically. No, I guess they did this in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That's why I digress. The replayability will be kind of the Metroidvania style of there are some extra secrets in the game. There's sort of a completionist ending that we're going to have, a sort of like secret ending. We're talking about other things that we want to add into the game as well. Like things just because we figured out that the game's so fun, the gameplay's fun. And like, if it's just, okay, cool, 8 hours, I've got no reason to do that anymore because now I know the story. It's, we want to give you opportunity. So like, we've got some secrets that are pretty buried in the game for people to find. So we hope that'll get people running around trying to find every aspect of the map to get to that secret ending, which I guess, not very secret anymore, but like that's a Metroidvania staple at this point, right? Is find
there
all the
is
stuff
a secret ending. Good luck finding it, but it's
exactly. But we've floated ideas like boss rush mode, which we think would be pretty fun and a great way to right, like with the way that the game's fun to play, and like we also like thought it could get crazy. We were talking about doing like a boss rush mode where you could kind of like remix it, where like fight 2 bosses at once if you want. Fight 3 bosses at once if you want.
This sounds like a great idea.
I am in that territory where developers talk out of line, and I might be talking about features that are very much in sort of conversation stages right now. And also as the person who does the artwork and not any of the back end programming, boss rush is great for me. I don't have to do anything. Boss rush is done when the game is done on my end. So it's very easy for me to say, yes, boss rush. But I think that might be something that we might have to make, patch in down the line. Won't be at launch. But we'll see. It's little things like that, though, we're trying to keep in mind to be able to use that the fun mechanics and the engine that, or rather the just sort of like the mechanics that we built more than what we initially designed them for. So we're trying to think of other ways to do that, but that's sort of the answer there.
Cool.
Long-winded.
I do want to ask, because you have I sense a huge passion for Castlevania and Metroid, and you guys knew going in that this was going to be a Metroidvania game. Why? How was that the obvious choice? Like, why was it going to be this genre from the get-go?
That's a good question. And I think it's just, it's such a, like, it goes back to the argument of, like, do you call your game a Metroidvania, right? Because it's such an open-ended concept that, like, you have a lot of room to work with it. It's very malleable. You can do virtually anything with it, because at the end of the day, Metroidvania is like kind of boiled down to the power trip, right? You start with nothing, you end with everything. I mean, there are arguments to be made. I'm not going to make them because I don't take this position. It's sort of like the what's a sandwich, right? Is a hoagie a sandwich? Is a taco a sandwich? Is a Choco Taco a sandwich? It gets out of control. Is Mega Man a Metroidvania? like, like it gets into the, and no, it's not. It's Mega Man. It's completely different. You don't have to,
right? Shut up.
It's not open ended. You don't have to explore everything. You just go into each level. They've got their finite completion. It's not Metroidvania. So like, there was a little bit of. I'm getting way off of the rails right now. We wanted to do Metroidvania because one, it gave us a lot of room to work with. To do really anything that we wanted from that starting point. It's very blank slate to work with. Two, we all have a different Metroidvania that we hold dear. That our favorite, like we all have played quite a few, and we all have ours that we swear by that like made an impact on us at some point. And none of them are the same, which is kind of why we all wanted to like smash our heads together and be like, let's just make just a Super Metroidvania, I guess. I mean, like, it's also a suicide for an indie dev team to be like, hey, do you guys want to make the most popular indie genre ever that has had some of the most critically acclaimed like hits in the indie space in years? Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's compete with Hollow Knight. That's a great idea. They're only coming out with another one right now too.
Awesome.
Yeah. Like, let's directly compete with them. That's not a terrible idea.
An Ori sequel, great.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's right. And there's so many that like I haven't played half of them. Which is like also part of the reason we went underwater. So like you're seeing a little bit on like that's a lot of where the decision came from, was like we wanted to do something. We wanted to make a game that we all loved that we hadn't seen before. We hadn't seen an underwater Metroidvania, a Metroidvania that's 360 degrees. Metroidvanias are all platforming. They're all grappling hooks and double jumps and space jumps and wall jumps. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to make a different one. Something that required you to think a little bit differently with your Metroidvania brain. You're trained to be like, when can I jump this high? Okay, I'll come back here. And we want to train you to be like, wow, okay, I can't get past this current. I wonder what I'll be able to, I wonder what will get me past this. Like it's not about jumping anymore. It's about tow cables and sonars and lights. But so that was kind of the approach to and why we landed on Metroid.
Sweet. All right, Andy.
Is it time?
It's time. It's time to get into our segment here, rapid fire questions. But before we do that, I want to tell listeners about our other shows that they could check out right now. And it's right on this not right now, but you know what I mean. They're on this very same channel. You don't have to subscribe anywhere else, but if you scroll down a little bit or you come back before next Thursday, you're going to see we do some other shows here. We have a show called the Dual Screens Gamescast. That is actually recorded live on twitch.tv/dualscreenstreams every Sunday night, and it posts on YouTube and podcast services on Monday mornings. And that's where Andy and I talk about gaming news, and we declare the biggest winners and losers of the week. So if you like fun stuff like that, if you want a new gaming news show, and we dig deep, we pick some really interesting stories. We don't just do like the biggest headlines, although those are there too, but we dig for the kind of weird stuff as well. So, and we have a lot of fun with that. We also have our seasonal content, which posts every other Friday, and we just kicked off on last Friday the Dual Screens Versus, which is a kind of pardon the interruption game show style thing where we have a guest moderator come in and give us arbitrary points for things that we debate about. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it was a pretty devastating loss for one of us. I don't want to point any elbows to anybody, but somebody between Andy and I lost handedly, and you should go see it. And our good friend of the show, John Panapinto, of the Nothing Podcast with Nobody Important, was our first moderator. So we have tons of moderators lined up for the season, so it's going to be a great thing. All right, so let's start off. Let's do it. Let's get into our whole rapid fire section. Now, this is how this is going to work, Bennett. We are going to ask you questions. They are mostly going to be from the top of our heads, although we do have like 3 or 4 that we almost always ask. You are just going to give us your quick answers. If you want to elaborate, sure, go ahead and elaborate. But
Oh, you shouldn't tell me that. I always say that. I'm going to give you quick answers. If you haven't noticed, I'm way too long-winded.
Well, it's up to you. This is your show. Right. This is, like I said in the top of the show, this is a platform for you to tell us your story. So if you got a story to tell, you tell it. So I'm going to start us off with a very simple question, but with a very, very deep, dark, philosophical answer. And that is, would you rather have the power of flight or invisibility?
Oh. Now, man, see, that's the problem is I can't answer questions quick. Because like you guys like it's I guess flight. I mean, so chips down flight. But fully knowing that like if I flew, it would probably be a huge pain in the ass. Like, you know how hard running is? Like, can you imagine how hard flying must be? Exhausting.
You can take your time and be invisible and go, and you're like at your own leisure, at your own pace.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know, man. You live in 2 months of isolation. Being invisible does not sound that attractive anymore.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh God, I'm gonna get crucified.
You
guys can't do this to me. I am pro Hawaiian pizza. So clarification. I think there's an important clarification to make in this debate that I don't think anybody ever makes. Everybody's always asking pineapple on pizza. If you just want to put pineapple on cheese on pizza, absolutely not. That sounds gross. But if you put pineapple on pizza with bacon or ham, a Hawaiian pizza, yes, absolutely. I am fully for additional pineapple on pizza with the caveat of having some sort of savory meat.
Interesting. Okay. Fair enough.
Context matters.
It absolutely does.
Is cereal a soup?
Yes. That context doesn't matter. Yes.
Interesting.
Cold soup, milks, you can have cold soup. You can have soup that's made out of dairy. There's no argument that you can make that. It's not soup when it's still in the box, but as soon as you put it in a bowl and put milk in it, it's soup. Sorry.
Who would win in a fantasy boxing match between Anne Frank and Lizzie Borden?
Oh.
I can't remember who Lizzie Borden is.
She's the axe killer. Yeah.
Okay, then her?
She seems to have something missing that would stop her from punching somebody to death.
Well, Anne Frank, though, in the attic, all cooped up with her own thoughts. That survivor mentality. Telling you, don't underestimate.
Yeah,
but so I guess, are they armed with what you would assume they would, like, if you drew these two caricatures, one would be armed with a diary, the other would be armed with an axe.
Well, it's a boxing match, unless Lizzie has blades in her gloves.
I can't imagine Anne Frank would have any sort of muscle mass being stuck.
Yeah, no, that is true. That is true.
Which has her pencil to stab her with.
She does have a pencil.
Yeah.
Now we're bringing props in again.
What is your favorite board game?
Ooh, oh man, that's a tough answer. Shoot, I don't play many board games. I like video games. Once they figured out how to make everything move in real time, I kind of got.
What's your favorite childhood board game?
I mean, so like I am a huge fan of. Oh wait, no, I know. Like, I guess it's not really a board game, but like, if anybody, like, I'm always down for a game of Yahtzee. I love Yahtzee.
I love Yahtzee. Yahtzee's a good game.
I'll play Sorry too, and like, I recently realized that I've been playing Monopoly with free parking my entire life, and it entirely breaks the game. And if you stop playing Monopoly with free parking, Monopoly's great. We're not great. It's just playable.
Right. Now, have you ever heard of a game called Dice Throne?
No.
Look it up, because it's essentially Yahtzee with superpowers.
Interesting. All right.
Look it up.
When you have I will have to. I will admit, part of my love of Yahtzee is the fact that I am I've played Yahtzee too many times, so I have like a hyper specific strategy for Yahtzee.
Okay.
That, like, as far as I'm concerned, there is only one right way to play Yahtzee.
Like so when you have your Yahtzee card and you get all the numbers, whatever, and you're doing your thing. In Dice Throne, you have characters that have different abilities and stats and stuff like that. So the things you're rolling and the things that you're doing also have strategy. For example, you might want to do this power instead of this one early on because it'll do this to your opponent, and like it's stuff like that. But it's essentially the mechanic of rolling die and matching the numbers and putting them where they're supposed to go is the same. It's just there's a much deeper added layer of strategy. Anyway, Andy, what's your question?
Who would you rather have by your side, Rambo or the Terminator?
Is the Terminator allied to me?
You don't know.
I'll take the Terminator.
How do you know John Rambo is
right? No, that's as soon as I thought about that, I was like,
fucking mental.
Yeah, no, Rambo could snap too.
You are the first blood he's gonna draw after all.
You're gonna need guns.
I'll go with the Terminator.
You have any guns? Because you're gonna need guns.
And I'll hope for the best. I'll hope he's sent back in time to protect me and not to kill me. But I feel like, weirdly enough, I feel like I'd have a better chance against Terminator than Rambo, and that's not for any other reason besides when the Terminator's a bad guy, he's a bad guy, which means I get like plot armor, maybe?
Yes, you do. At some point.
True. Okay. What is your go-to candy? You go into like a rest stop or like a 7-Eleven or something like that, and you're like, I'm going to get some candy. What's the candy you're getting?
I think it's usually Starburst.
Well, that's a great choice.
More recently, I've been, if they're available and I can grab High Chews instead, I'll snag a pack of those, though the trade-off being you're usually only getting 5 of one flavor instead of a whole pack of excellent 4 flavor goodness. Though I will say that neither of those is actually my favorite candy, even by a long shot. But
what a twist!
So but you made the specification of like a rest stop or something like that. And these are only available seasonally, but the sweet tart jelly beans.
Yeah, I'm aware of these. Yeah, they're very good.
I've never tried these before.
So I actually made my wife hide them and ration them out because I bought 2 bags and finished one when it got home and couldn't move. So I said, you need to take this other one. You need to put it somewhere. And you can give me a handful sometimes when I ask, but not every time because I'll get a stomachache if I do.
You're like a child.
Yeah,
but I mean, get these away from me. I made a boo-boo.
They are... I have to say, I am fortunate that they are only around in the spring. I've not checked if you can buy them online, and I ask that nobody tell me if you can.
Fair enough.
For my own health.
We gotta find these right now. Is there a massive spike in dentist visits during that time of the year for you?
Yeah, you could probably say that.
There should be.
Yeah.
It's the time of the year.
All right. Give us a non-inspirational quote.
Oh man, I used to have one. Oh yeah, it's something like you could shoot for the moon all you want, but if you're using bottle rockets, who cares?
It's a fair point. That's a fair point. Would you rather have feet for hands or shit out of your mouth? What would you choose?
That's not the direction I thought that second one was going.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Now, I knew it wouldn't be hands for feet because obviously it's hands for feet.
Feet for hands, not hands for feet. Feet for hands. You're walking around with a heel and those fungus-laden toenails.
Yeah, I'll take the feet for hands, and I'll be some sort of.
You would take care of your feet.
Yeah,
hands.
especially the feet hands. I feel like. Well, yeah, but how are you going to take care of them? With what appendages?
Yeah, someone will do it for you. At least you're not shitting out of your mouth. And
that's
keep people away for life.
I mean,
no one's going to go near you.
Shitting out of your mouth, just vomiting solids. Like I feel like.
Yeah, but like I don't vomit every day.
No, you see, you shit out of your asshole. If you're shitting out of your mouth, it's your actual shit coming out of your mouth.
Right.
And that's the implication with what you're saying there.
I guess so.
It's I would say feet, and I'd be some sort of superhero who, like Kickman or something.
There you go.
It's superhero, circus freak, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
Either way, there's a career for you somewhere.
Hopefully.
Well, here's a less disgusting would you rather question. Would you rather be the star player on the losing team or ride the bench on the winning one?
Jimmy Garoppolo has 2 Super Bowl rings. I'm gonna ride that bench.
It's a good point.
Because
you're still a champion.
Yeah, no. So football is the only real is the sport that I watch, and I've seen way too many superstar diva players on terrible teams who look like they're not having a good time, and plenty of other I gotta say, backup quarterbacks have figured it out.
Hell yeah,
that's the best job. People give you got backup. It's just you just sit there, you watch, and there's a chance that you might have to go play in the NFL. Oh no. That's worst case scenario is you got to go be quarterback on an NFL team. That's a pretty cool worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Best case scenario is you can win a Super Bowl. I'll ride the bench.
Doing nothing.
But getting paid. Bench players still get paid.
They do.
It's Luke. That's crazy. I got into the wrong industry. Sorry, can't work today. I'm on the bench. Still got to pay me though.
Yeah, I'm on this bench, guys. We just busy work.
When his wrist gives out, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm just going to do reps.
Would you rather have $1 million a day for the rest of your life, or live
shit out of your mouth
for 1,000,000 days?
Wait, what was
for 1,000,000 years rather? Would you rather have $1 million a day for the rest of your life, or would you rather live for 1,000,000 years?
Oh, I'll live for 1,000,000 years. Not even a question. I am 100% somebody who thinks that anybody who's immortality would be such a burden. They're just unimaginative and just wrong. I would live for 1,000,000 years. And I'm pretty sure if I lived 1,000,000 years, I could figure out somehow to at least be comfortable for a decent portion of that. So I'll take the 1,000,000 years.
You could fleece some people in the time you got,
I could also just if I know I'm gonna live for 1,000,000 years, I'll just make a small short-term long-term investment and be all right, I'll come back and pick that up in maybe 1,000 years, pull a Fry and just be a multi-billionaire because of compounded interest.
Exactly.
Cheated the system.
A really good savings account. You'd be fine. You'd be set for life.
Exactly. And that first 1,000 years would be a bummer.
But if you got video games, I guess.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm banking on being able to maintain a shred of sanity for 1,000 years while I wait for some.
I don't know. 2020's been rough.
Yeah, I'm banking on banks being around for 1,000 years to turn that money into something, and then who knows where we're gonna I'd probably have to move to Mars.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that doesn't sound pleasant.
Will the sun even be here in 1,000,000 years? We don't know.
Right. It takes a while, but yeah, no. That's the question with those that. If you're gonna live forever, does that pass the heat death of the universe? Does that sort of negate
if technology gets you there? Why not?
Who knows?
I feel like you're not immune to disintegration.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's more like a death becomes her. Like if you got to take care of your body, otherwise you'll just be like a head on the floor rolling around. Sort of scenario.
See, that's
gotcha. I've got to survive.
That means you could get murdered. Like I don't like that idea.
Right. I got to survive a million years.
It's more. Is it like Highlander?
Mm-hmm.
Or like a Dracula.
A Dracula
situation.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of the Tuck Everlasting because they're just like straight up. You could shoot that kid with a shotgun and he's gonna get up and be like, "What happened?" I think that's what happens in that book.
Ooh, what if it's like Groundhog Day?
It's been a long time since like
right.
7th grade? Who knows?
What if it's like, okay, today, April 29th, 2020, this starts the beginning of your 1 million years, and if you die of being murdered at any point, you have to go back to this time.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. You're telling give me a respawn?
It's like
100% I would take a respawn.
It's a Groundhog Day situation, 100%.
Like except, Groundhog Day, though, when you can progress past the day and like like the problem is, oh man, so
but what I'm if it's sure really that
like it would so like because at the end of like now you're talking about like 20,000 years in on your 4th playthrough, we're calling it now because you've respawned 4 times. You're like, okay, this one's feeling good. I still have a lot of time to go because last time you made it like 100,000 years. So you're a little bit salty about the fact that you just got shot in the back of the head by some random mugger by accident, totally unrelated. You were checking all of your bases. So yeah, no, I could see that getting frustrating over time.
But you'd take more risks, though, I imagine, if you live for that long and knowing it was a respawn.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think the first thing I would do is go base jumping. No, I'm not really a...
Well, here's the thing. Here's the rule now. If you kill yourself, you don't respawn.
That's
accidentally,
good,
maybe. Maybe.
That's true. Well, then you base jump with a parachute that I packed, but, you know, I'm not good at packing parachutes, apparently.
A parachute full of bricks. Got it. Understood.
But no, I do think you especially like, shoot, I'm only 3 days into this one. I might as well just go for it.
Andy.
See, and this is why short answers suck. Because
true.
Look at that beautiful thing we just had right now.
Yeah.
That wonderful moment we just shared between us.
Andy, hit us up with our last question. We'll get out of here.
All right. Bennett, this is the last question.
It's a very important question, Bennett.
The most important question.
That's what people say.
And that is Andy or Steven?
Oh, shit. All right.
Oh, shit, indeed.
See, it's not a rapid fire question. This one you got to think. Although most people don't think. They just go with me. But I'm not gonna...
Oh, now I'm at an impasse. I was gonna go with Steven because he's got the webcam set up, so there's a little bit of webcam solidarity.
That wins a lot. That wins a lot of this argument. I like it.
But the sort of self-proclamation of being the winner before
hubris.
Yeah, that is the word. Hoisted.
Yeah.
By hubris.
By his own retard.
I gotta give it to Andy. He is the one that reached out. And did not project his hubris at the end.
Congratulations,
my condolences,
Andy.
Steve.
Everyone's got to win one. Congratulations, Andy.
You think you're so funny.
Well, that's what my mom tells me. Anyway, that is going to bring us to the end of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like this show, please, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. It helps the show out tremendously. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, give a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. We do appreciate it greatly. If you want to follow us on social media, we are at NDS Podcast. I am at Batchild27. Andy is at Pansky. And Bennett, where could everybody find you?
You can find us at bomb_shelter on Twitter and bombsheltergames.com.
How many end of world or doomsday preppers do you have following you?
Preppers? That's a good question. I don't know. They haven't been that loud, so
no, they're underground now.
You want to know what that number is?
The shit has finally hit the
question.
Fan.
That is that is a I'm just thinking because the world's currently potentially in a weird place where preppers are like, yeah, no, we gotta know. You're just talking about the fact that the name of the handle is bomb shelter.
Correct.
I forget that like way too often. Sometimes I'll like if you Google bomb shelter games, unfortunately, the most hits you get are for that Fallout Shelter game.
Yes. I was like, did they make this?
No, we didn't. It's just a game about bomb shelters, and we're idiots for naming our studio Bomb Shelter Games, apparently. But the good news is...
That's a happy accident, though.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit. The good news is if everybody is prepping and going into their bomb shelters, we're making plenty of bomb shelter games for you to play.
There you go.
Is the way we're thinking about gaming through the apocalypse. That's the plan. That's what I'm doing.
It's the best way to do it. If you want to follow us on Facebook, go to facebook.com/groups/DS podcast. That's a nice little group that we all hang out in. It's a lot of fun. If you want to watch our stuff live on Twitch, go to twitch.tv/dual-screen-streams. Our theme song, Retro Chatter, is by Bradley Parsons at Train Sound Studio. Thank you, Andrew Douglas, for our cartoon art, and thank you, Matt Murray, for all of our overlays and all that other and logos and fun stuff like that. Again, if you want to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/NDS podcast. Thank you for everybody who supports us on Patreon. We appreciate you greatly. And if you want to shop, if you want to buy some stuff, go to dualscreens.com/store. That's dualscreens.com/store. That is it. We have done it. This brings us to the end of the show. Andy, is there anything you want to tell our listeners before we go?
I do, actually. We're going postal next week, Steven.
Oh, shit.
That's right. We're talking with Mike Jarrett, the Fu Manchu himself, the chief bidet officer of Running with Scissors. Talk about Postal 4, No Regrets.
No regrets? Was it?
No regrets.
Regrets?
Which I'm full of like at this stage in my life.
Anyway.
I'm all regrets. That's what
Aren't we all?
My catch line is.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Bennett. Bennett, it was an absolute pleasure hanging out with you on this show. It was great.
Absolutely. Fantastic being here. Great talking to you guys. I had a blast. Thank you very much. It's great to talk to people just about video games, and that's it for a little while. It's getting kind of stir crazy over here.
You're welcome on the show anytime. You just reach out, and we'll get you on, and we'll talk about things. That's going to do it. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Bennett. And as always, please be excellent to each other.